If you think making more money as fast as possible is what's gonna solve all the problems in your life right now, like if you were making $10,000 a month, you'd finally feel successful. Or that financial freedom will make you less anxious and allow you to finally be the person you wanna be. If any of that is true, this video is for you. Here are 13 lessons my multi-millionaire mentor has taught me to stay grounded in my 20s and actually enjoy the journey as you build the life you truly wanna live. Number one, you are not lucky. Your action attracts opportunities, and that's why your life is the way it is right now. I used to see someone really successful online, like an influencer or another 20-something-year-old making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and to make myself feel better on where I was at in my journey. As soon as I heard, oh, her parent was an entrepreneur, so that's why it's easier for her to do sales. Duh, that's why she's making money faster than me. I'd subconsciously deem them as lucky and discredit all the action they've taken. And because of that habit, as soon as I started building and putting myself out there to build my dream life, I started assuming that everyone else was discrediting me and calling me lucky as well. As I started making content to document my entrepreneurship journey, I was hesitant to tell people that I convinced a multimillionaire to mentor me because I cared too much about someone saying, oh, there you go, now everything's just gonna be handed to her. The hard truth I had to learn, and I wish I knew sooner, is that luckiness is something you build as you take more action and put yourself in rooms of opportunity to come to you. And when you actually give yourself the respect and awareness to understand the unordinary action or dedicated repeated action you took to get here, you can tell your story and help other people get luckier too. So the second lesson I learned from my multi-millionaire mentor is to stop saying I can't and replace it every time with how can I? Now, I know through experience when you grow up in a household where your parents say, we can't afford that. You can't do that right now. You should do this. You know, it subconsciously programs you. And that's why from the past year and a half of being around my mentor, really wealthy people in business and entrepreneurship, you'll never hear them speak around limitations. They will always ask themselves, how can I make this happen? Who am I required to become in order to make this happen? And more importantly, who do I know that can help me? And it's the mindset that you have to do things on your own in order to be deemed well deserving of it that keeps people in the middle and lower class. And if you're really close to family and feel really connected to your culture, the last lesson is probably gonna hit home even more for you. The third lesson I learned from her is the importance of setting boundaries regardless of what stage you're at in business, life, entrepreneurship. When I met my mentor, I had just graduated college. I was in like $30,000 of credit card debt because I had already started entrepreneurship and tried other business ventures. And I never had any corporate job experience, and I knew no one else my age who was taking such a non-traditional route to build a career. And all those reasons combined, I just had a lower self-worth. I was in such desperation to make more money, prove to my parents that I'm not just a trying entrepreneur. And because I was acting in such scarcity and desperation, I was giving myself up to every opportunity that came because I needed that client. I need that sales call. I can't eat right now. I haven't got a client. I can't go out with my family right now. The voices online like Alex Hormozy and all the other entrepreneur influencers I see are talking about how you're making excuses if you're not working harder. Maybe Alex Hormozy has never said that, but that's just how the repetitive content has made me feel, even if I'm learning a ton from him in sales and marketing. But through all that and coming from a culture where boundaries don't exist, it was this multi-millionaire mentor who would tell me on the days that I thought I needed to work the most to stop working and think less. Opportunities that are meant for you will not miss you. And the only way you're gonna enjoy yourself, protect your health, and not burn out as you're building a business is setting boundaries, which leads me to number 4. Rest is not a reward. It's not something you get at the end of the finish line once you achieve this goal you have in mind. It's the thing that's gonna make you stronger to actually continue and get better and keep going. Conceptually, you understand the importance of rest, but putting it into practice is hard. And when no one else around you has to be their own boss and be the one to schedule out and set boundaries for rest themselves, from my experience, it's been even harder. But when I think about building my business like an athlete, I try to ask myself, how would I be resting more? How would I be eating and prioritizing nutrients in my body? And would I then really see rest as weaker or lazy? Or would it be smart and a necessity to do something great? Which leads us to number 5. Focusing on the potential judgment that others might have on you is selfish. Your mind and attention can only go on so many things. And so let's say you want to start making content and building a personal brand to help other people who are like you or coming from a similar background as you. You want to document your dance journey. You want to inspire more 20-something-year-olds to do what they want with their life. The more you focus on your family and friends making fun of your content or seeing you as a tryhard, you can't focus on what are the actual messages and stories that the person I really want to help and serve needs to hear. And the reason it's selfish is because you're so focused on how you feel and the nerves you have around doing the thing you're doing, instead of focusing on one of the biggest reasons why you're doing what you're doing. And that led me to learn the lesson, when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. Last year, I spoke at 13 different business events, teaching people the power of telling your personal story on social media. I also started posting every day on Instagram to grow my personal brand. At the time, I was 22, and I was typically the youngest person in the room at any business conference. And so for a whole year and a half, I was so focused and passionate to learn and absorb the language of wealth, but I didn't want to lose myself of like how I typically talk and show up as someone in their 20s. I was so conflicted of like, how do I speak on content? Because I was trying to speak to everyone, I couldn't go hella deep to help anyone. But the moment I really focused on, I can give my best self and most of myself to one specific avatar, and I envision them every time I talk on camera or every time I talk on stage, it makes it way easier to not just reach people through social media, but with the attention they give me, serve them best to really make them feel seen and understood. And so in learning a lot of those lessons, I was gaining a lot more opportunity throughout my journey. As I got in more rooms of opportunity, my mentor actually modeled to me lesson number 7, the fun and beauty of saying someone's name in a room full of opportunities. And for my mentor, her personal mission is actually to say a woman's name. And it's something I've taken on. You know, I make personal development, entrepreneur documentation, content online, and most of the entrepreneur education space is led by men. All this has made it even more important for me to uplift women and minorities every time I do get the mic or I am on content. Who can I mention here? Whose business do I actually support and like? Not just say it just to say someone's name. And I would love for them to lead more people or help more people because they're just a cool ass person. I've grown up in business or being taught by my mentor that real success and the highest levels of business is actually way more collaborative than it is competitive. And the way she's taught me that is reminding me that a rising tide lifts all boats. Another way to think about it is that if you overthink how bright you shine, or like, oh my gosh, you take all this action and you want to stay humble, you don't want to be overly expressive in this room, it's because we've been fed this perception that like the brighter you shine, the more you dim others out. When in reality, the brighter you shine, the more flame there is to pass along and help others shine brighter too. Limiting your own expression only limits your success, and you want to be more successful because you know you're a good person, and good people with great opportunities make greater opportunities for more people. So if you really want to help more people, be more of you. And being more of you might also be embracing the stage of life you're in. Being in your 20s, maybe you're a teen, maybe you're in or just entering your 30s. Whatever your age, you are never too young to be respected. And I wish I knew this sooner. I'm so grateful to have finally realized this as someone young in business. I'm Filipino American. Boundaries don't really exist culturally, and it's a huge value for us to always respect elders, but there's not many boundaries back, at least from my experience, how a parent could treat a kid, or I grew up hearing more adults refer to young adults as, oh, those kids. And I think I subconsciously programmed myself to think the same of other young people who are successful, which then didn't give me my self-respect. And I also just believed that the peers and people around me naturally didn't respect me or think that I could add any value to them because I was younger and less experienced in different ways of life. Accept who you really are and embrace it, and be someone who's really unique and respected for your uniqueness in the space you're in. And before we move on to lesson 10, if any of these messages have related to you in any way, make sure to follow, because I'm trying to share everything I've learned from her in the past year and a half to grow alongside other badass people in their 20s too. So lesson number 10, remember, you do not need to be an expert at something in order to help someone. Actually, what my millionaire mentor has taught me is that it's better sometimes to only be 1 or 2 levels ahead of someone to help them best. I also used to question how to show up online because I don't want to be this guru expert as someone who's still learning and growing. And last year I was stressed over debt, like I am no expert at this. But again, take all your weaknesses and insecurities as an asset and strength. Document their growth and learning online. What if, because you're not an expert, but you have the opportunity to learn under someone who is, you take the camera and let people be in the rooms that you have the opportunity to be in. Let them learn alongside you. Take ownership without shame. You can still be respected and be someone who people can look towards for help and inspiration without being alpha to them being beta, or without feeling like you have to know all the things in order to change their life in any way. And side note, I've been learning that when you're at level 10 of anything, a sport, a business, whatever, it takes up more work to rethink back to how deeply this pain point was for you, or this struggle, or like how exciting it was to do your first deal or your first performance, your first sale, versus when you are just 1 level above someone. It's still really fresh in your mind to tell that person, hey, I felt really anxious when I stepped on stage too. Here's what I did, and here's what I wish I did better. These last 3 lessons are probably the things that have helped me most to not burn out along this journey of growth and impact and becoming the version of myself I really want to be. And I think that if you have these 3 lessons down, the ones I've already mentioned will come way easier. So lesson number 11, your values are the compass of your life. And at 22, meeting this multimillionaire, I don't even think I knew what values were. Like, of course, conceptually you understand, but it wasn't until I started working with her strengths coach, which rich people think, like I didn't know that existed either. She actually had me sit down and look through a list of values and pick my top 5, then narrow it down to my top 3. Because there's something about a trilogy that people can just lean on and remember things easier. And so having 3 values that I've defined to guide me in any decision or any relationship I'm in has helped me understand, okay, if these are the values I have to be this person that I want to be, things that do not align with it are probably not for me in this season of my life. And I say season because you will constantly be growing and changing. And so as you grow and change and shift stages of life, your values will also change. So I've been taught this is an exercise to come back to, but I would have to make a whole separate video of how doing this exercise alone has changed my life. It's changed the way I interact with myself. It's changed the way I see life. And it's helped me be more accepting of the differences of myself and others, which leads me to lesson 12, be authentically you. And yes, I know everyone says this, right? I can already hear that music and the editing on short form content when people like start romanticizing that personal development quote. But it's so true. How do I stay authentic and true to my spirit and my goofiness and soul in a room of elder millennial Gen X people who define professionalism a little differently? Authenticity, just like vulnerability, is a journey, and I'm learning that it's not something that is just like 0 to 100. It's constantly growing and evolving. And you know what that feeling of true alignment is for you? You'll have more confidence to wear what feels authentic to you, to talk in the way that is authentic to you, to run your business authentic and true to you, not what's true and right and traditional to anyone else. So keep learning you, keep loving you, keep sharing all of you, because the more you lead by example, the more normal it can become for someone who sees themselves in you. So last lesson number 13, as you're growing, as you're getting better, your success is inevitable. If you stayed this long on this video, I already know that you're high performing, maybe you're naturally hard on yourself. Whatever you have your heart and mindset to, I have no doubt that you'll get there. Understand that you can always make more money, but you can't make back more time. You know, learning from a multimillionaire, living with her, traveling with her, being in business meetings with her, she's always told me you can make $1 million any day. You will not be 23 forever. You will not always have this youthful energy, the skin you have today, the body you have today, the interests you have today, not having kids, not having a boyfriend, not always having 2 healthy feet where you can run and girl, go do whatever you want to do. I've realized in being in this world, business can potentially be never ending. It's really easy to think you always have to be scaling to be more successful. Always moving the goalposts. Like, first I want to make my first 10,000. Okay, I've made that. Now it's time for $50,000 a month. Let's just make $1 million at it. But just because you can doesn't mean you always should. Because now that I know more of my values and learned the hard way trying to make $1 million as fast as possible, I've grown to learn that on my deathbed, I'm not gonna give a that I made $1 million in a day. I imagine reflecting on the amount of love I've shared with the people in my life, the amount of peace and alignment, and those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, when you have to pee so bad and you've been holding it in and then you finally get to the toilet and you're like, like this is what life is about. The freedom and opportunity to just have a sensational life and allow more people to do that with you. Experiencing those sensations and emotions with others, that's what I care for. And it happens by me taking time out of my life and out of my building journey to go spend more time and share more life with others. And I feel secure knowing that there's certain sacrifices that I'm willing to make less often, that someone who's a little more fulfilled or motivated by money and constantly scaling to the top 1% probably would be. I hope these lessons from my multimillionaire mentor has taught you something new about yourself and has given you some clarity and peace to know what's next and best for you. And if it has, make sure to follow because I'm going to share everything I've been learning in the past 1.5 years of working with her. If you're interested to hear what action I took to convince this multimillionaire to mentor me, you can click this video to hear the story once I post it. And I hope to meet you there. See y'all in the next video.